I told my brother that his crush dislikes him because he's an asshole, not because he's too smart. So my little brother Jake is 13 and basically a genius. Like he's already taking college classes and gets interviewed by newspapers about his research stuff. Everyone always talks about how amazing and smart he is, and honestly our parents have never said no to him about anything his entire life. The problem is he's turned into this massive jerk who thinks he's better than literally everyone. He talks down to people constantly and acts like everyone around him is stupid. It's gotten so bad that I cringe whenever he opens his mouth around other people. Lately he's been obsessed with this girl from one of his advanced classes named Emma. He talks about her constantly but keeps complaining that she won't give him the time of day. Every single day it's the same thing. He'll come home whining about how she ignored him or didn't laugh at his jokes or whatever. Last week he invited her over to work on some project together. I was in the kitchen making a sandwich when they sat down at our dining room table. What I heard made me want to crawl under a rock from secondhand embarrassment. The entire time Jake just talked over her. Like she'd start to explain an idea and he'd immediately interrupt with, "Actually that's wrong because," or "That won't work. Here's what we should do instead." At one point she suggested researching something online and he literally called her idea stupid to her face. Then he spent like 20 minutes just bragging about himself. He told her about every newspaper article he'd been in, every award he'd won, every smart thing he'd ever done. The poor girl just sat there nodding politely while looking like she wanted to disappear. The worst part was when he asked about her career plans. She said she wanted to be a teacher, and he immediately started lecturing her about how teaching doesn't pay well and she'd be wasting her potential. You could see her face just shut down completely. After she left that day, Jake came into my room all confused about why she seemed weird and distant. I wanted to tell him right then, but I figured maybe he'd figure it out on his own. He didn't. Instead, it got worse. He started coming up with all these theories about why Emma didn't like him. First, he decided she was jealous of his intelligence. Then he convinced himself she was playing hard to get. Last week, he told me she probably only likes dumb jock guys because girls don't appreciate smart men. Today was the final straw. Jake was at the dinner table going on his usual rant about Emma while our parents nodded along sympathetically. He said she was obviously intimidated by how accomplished he is and that most women are too emotional to handle dating someone smarter than them. Our mom actually agreed with him. She started talking about how some people feel threatened by exceptional individuals and that Emma probably feels insecure around Jake's success. Dad chimed in saying Jake shouldn't change himself for anyone and that the right girl would appreciate his gifts. I couldn't take it anymore. I put down my fork and looked Jake straight in the eye. "She doesn't dislike you because you're smart," I said. "She dislikes you because you act like a condescending jerk who thinks everyone else is stupid." The whole table went silent. Jake's mouth actually fell open. "You talked over her the entire time she was here," I continued. "You called her ideas stupid. You bragged about yourself nonstop, and you told her she was making bad life choices. Why would anyone want to be around that?" Jake started getting defensive, saying I didn't understand because I'm not as smart as him. That just proved my point even more. "This is exactly what I'm talking about," I said. "You think being smart gives you permission to treat people like garbage. Emma seems like a nice girl and you made her feel terrible in our own house." My parents immediately jumped in saying I was being too harsh on a 13-year-old kid. Mom said Jake was just enthusiastic about his interests and that I was crushing his confidence. Dad told me I should be supporting my brother instead of tearing him down. But here's the thing. Jake isn't some little kid who doesn't know better. He's smart enough to be in college but somehow can't figure out basic human decency. That doesn't add up. I told them that if they keep making excuses for his behavior, he's going to grow up thinking he can treat everyone like dirt just because he's academically gifted. Some of the smartest people I know are also the kindest and most humble. Intelligence and being a decent person aren't mutually exclusive. Jake stormed off to his room and slammed the door. My parents spent the rest of dinner lecturing me about being supportive and understanding.